Hello all and welcome back to another wonderful video. Today here in Ponytown we're going to be talking about some interesting things. So for those of you that don't know, in the Patreon description for Ponytown they mention things like mini games and stuff like that for their future plans. But what kind of mini games do you think they would add? Well, personally I have no idea what kind of mini games they would add, but have an idea of some games that would be really fun to have in Ponytown. So today we're going to be going over 4 of those ideas for things that they could potentially add in the future. Things that I personally would want to see because of how fun I think they would be. So if you enjoy this kind of content, be sure to subscribe and like the video and do things like that because it really helps out the channel and really helps me make more content like this. So I've made a video like this in the past. You can see it in the top right corner card thing or at the end screen or something like that. But that was back when it was theoretical. Now it's basically confirmed that it's eventually going to happen. So here's the first minigame idea, and that, quite simply, is that you have to run away from other players. It's kind of like a tag game. I think it would be really fun because technically all the players have like some sort of origin point or something like that near like this little area of the character. It's there to tell the game that like, hey, I'm running into an object. I'm not supposed to be able to go further than this. That's essentially what I assume it's for anyway. You could potentially use this as a way to detect if you're touching another player. So I think something that could be interesting is to have a game of tag, essentially. You get like randomized maps. Maybe there's like 3 different maps that once you start the minigame, you appear in a different map. Let's say this is one of them or something like that. And you have to run around and there's one person that's it, but you don't know who it is. It's sort of like a mystery as well. It's like you don't know who it is at first. And then once someone gets tagged, then you're starting to realize who it is. So you have to run away from them and you can't trust anyone because, you know, maybe that person that you're trusting is the person that's it and you don't want to get tagged by them. So I think that could be a fun little game. I think it'd be a lot of fun to have it sort of mixed with different maps and stuff like that. That way it's not the same map every single time. It's just randomized between like 3 of them or something. And you just run around like this, trying not to be touched by the other player, because if you're touched by them, you disappear and you go back to some sort of main lobby, or perhaps you just get frozen in place or something like that. Maybe it's a freeze tag type of thing. I think playing around with like tags and stuff like that could be a fun mechanic to play around with. That's kind of like the first one there that I've come up with. In addition, some of the maps I would love to have things like this where it's just like, oh, can I actually get through there? Haha, I can. Perfect tiny little slips of like escape points would be awesome for the maps, and I think that would be wonderful. I think this would be a really fun game, and it's not something that involves a lot of strategy. It's not something that involves a lot of thinking. You go there, a message pops up, says, hey, don't get touched by other players. Everyone's going to try not to get touched by other players, and it's going to basically teach everyone how to play it without teaching them how to play it. Like, they're going to know immediately how to play it as soon as that message comes up. It says, hey, don't get touched by other players. So it's not a super complicated thing, and I think that's an important thing to keep in mind for the rest of this video, is that I don't think that a big complicated game that involves a lot of strategy and involves a lot of, you know, future planning and thinking ahead and stuff like that is gonna work for Ponytown. There's a lot of people that are kids in the game, or people that don't want to bother with that. They want to think. They don't want to think. They want to turn off their mind and do this or whatever like that. And I think usually in a lot of the cases of strategy games, it usually involves like 1 to a few people. Party games like this, I think, would involve dozens of people. You could have like a full like 30 people game of this tag thing or something like that. But anyway, I've rambled enough. Let's move on to this next game. Alright, so this next minigame idea here is a game that combines racing with a classic game that some of you may be familiar with. There is some Halo custom maps like this. There is some Rec Rooms maps like this. There's some VR chat worlds like this. There's all kinds of games that have some sort of minigame like this, but this one would be combining a racing element with it. Now this is sort of a classic platform game where there's X amount of platforms, let's say like 10 or something like that, and players jump between them or move between them, and randomly every 10 seconds or 5 seconds or something like that, something happens and it can affect multiple platforms or just one platform. Perhaps the platform is completely erased and eradicated. Perhaps a platform just spawns a gun or a banana or some random goofy thing like that on it, and you can use it to benefit yourself towards other platforms. Now this game would be similar to that, also obviously nothing extreme like a gun or something like that, but essentially the idea is that you all start in a central space like this little red square here, and there is a set of paths that will open up once the game starts. You can go down, you can go through the middle, or you can go up and over. The point of the game is to have it, you know, obviously all these paths would have to be like the same distance and everything like that, but the premise of the idea is that you race, and as you race across this, things will happen. Now, obviously, you would race to a certain section and then it would close off. So let's say the game starts and I reach green. Once you reach green, you can't go past green because there's like an invisible wall there. Maybe there's a real wall there or something like that. Once every player gets on a green space, or after a set amount of time, all the spaces get affected to some degree. Perhaps some of them get destroyed slightly, perhaps some of them get destroyed completely, perhaps it spawns something funny like a banana, perhaps it spawns something useful like a saw that would have a limited use. So the saw idea would essentially be like, oh, you can pick up the saw, but you can't really use it that much. You can get rid of like one wall, or perhaps you're unaffected by the next wall or something like that. Things like that could be a fun idea. And like I said, let's say, you know, you get to the green space, it closes off, you're not allowed to advance any further. Then you get past this, the time goes up or whatever, and you're allowed to get past the green space, so you move on. Once you get to like the next space, like the white space or the blue space or whatever next color happens to come up, then it's closed off again, and you can't go further until the event happens. So now the event happens, and after the event happens, we're able to move on and continue our little journey. Now, the main problem with this is that you could have situations where multiple people would win, although I don't think that would be the worst idea ever. I think having multiple people be able to win this could be fun, because obviously, you know, it makes sense that multiple people would probably reach the final square at basically the same time. So I'm totally fine with this game leading into like, oh, 4 people won and like 10 people lost. I'm totally fine with that. I think that could be a fun thing with it, actually. But essentially, that is the idea. You get to a certain section, you can't progress further until the event happens, and the event happens and it affects things in weird, random ways. And it could, you know, obviously affect platforms that are in front of you. It could affect platforms that are behind you. And you always have the option to completely abandon the path in front of you and just leave and then go back to a different path. So I can abandon the middle path and then go up to the top path instead. Obviously, that would cost you a lot of time, but it is something that could be interesting. Something else that could be interesting for things to spawn and appear is little bridges that connect to another little section. So let's say an event happens and it connects this with this, and it just gives you that alert like, hey, paths have been connected, and you can go over to it or something like that, and then randomly the path will go away and there will be no notification for it whatsoever. It just randomly goes away. I think that could be a fun little thing for it, and yeah, that's what I got for this second one. So let's move on to the third one. So this next one brings us to another random island. I think this could be very similar to the first one, where there is a set number of randomized maps. Perhaps you could even just reuse the maps that you used in the previous one. But something fun for this one would be like a set of maps, like let's say 3, and they're randomized every single time the game starts. And essentially the premise of this game is a scavenger hunt, essentially. That's basically what it is. Now, in my notes here, I wrote that it's called Shopping List, which I think is absolutely hilarious. But essentially the idea and the premise of this is that an icon of an item will appear above you in the top middle of your screen. This could be something like a banana, it could be a cookie, it could be a lantern, it could be something that you can pick up in the game. Now, the goal after that is to immediately search the entire island for that object and then pick it up. Once you pick that object up, you either have to return it to a very specific area and drop it in that specific area, or as soon as you pick it up, it just immediately drops it and it counts as a victory and you move on to the next object. Essentially, you would do that. So let's say the first object is a lantern, so we go over here, we grab a lantern. Oh, isn't that lucky? It immediately drops it automatically no matter what. It automatically dropped it after I picked it up or whatever, and now a new icon appears in the top middle and it's like a banana or something, and now we gotta scour the entire map looking for a banana. Where is that banana? We gotta find a banana or else we're gonna lose. I think there's one down here, and you just kind of look for a banana or look for the next object that's on the list. Here's one right here. I can go through this fruit box and get a banana out of that and be able to complete that goal. And now that that's completed, you know, we move on to the next one, and it goes and goes and goes until you complete 10. Whoever completes the first 10 objects in the quote-unquote shopping list or scavenger hunt, whatever you want to call it, will win and be able to you know, obviously win that challenge, and then whatever awards are given in these mini games would be given, if there is any at all. I guess bragging rights would be the main one, but essentially that's that. I think this one will be really, really fun. You could also just set it to a timer, like a 10-minute 2-minute timer, and then, you know, it just, the shopping list or whatever you want to call it is infinite, so it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going for 10 minutes, and then whoever had the most objects collected in those 10 minutes would win. So, like I said, it is obviously very customizable or changeable, if you will. Essentially, like I said, you can either have it to where once you pick it up, it immediately gets rid of it and it's gone and you don't have to worry about it anymore. Or it could be something where once you do pick it up, you have to bring it to a specific location. So let's say our thing is this flower. So we grab it, we run over here. Let's say this is a location that we got to do. It can be either a thing that you click on, or it can be something where you literally have to physically drop it yourself. And then once you drop it in the designated zone, it counts as a point and you have to go find another one. So there is 2 ways to really go about this one, and I think both would be really, really, really fun. And this is honestly something that I might do myself on one of my game nights or something like that, because it is something that you can kind of do in Ponytown right now. Like, this is a very self-explanatory thing. An object appears, go find that object as quickly as possible. So there's not a huge amount of strategy involved. There's not a huge amount of complications and stuff like that involved. It's not super complicated. It's easy, it's simple, and I think it would be incredibly fun, especially with tons of people involved. Last but not least, we come back here to talk about a build off. That's right, a build battle is my last idea here. It's a very simple one. It's something that I think a lot of people would understand, and essentially the premise works exactly like how it does in Minecraft servers and stuff like that. The way that they work in those Minecraft servers is that you get a prompt. Maybe it's something like, hey, build a historical monument, or hey, build a cozy cabin, or hey, build a tree, or do this or do that, or whatever like that. It gives you a randomized prompt, and every player has to do it. They're all in their own little designated rooms. You can have it be team build battle as well, so you could have multiple people inside a single room, and you have to build and make whatever you need to make. And then at the end, at the 10-minute mark or whatever like that, it takes everyone from room to room one by one and allows everyone to vote on which ones they liked. I think that could be a really fun one, a very simple-ish one to implement anyway. It could be really fun for everyone involved, and I think it's just a really simple one. Everyone knows what a build off is. Everyone reads build off and like, oh, we got to build things and build something better than the other person. So I think that could be a really obvious thing to do. So like, let's say it's like, oh, make a kitchen or something like that. So you decide to make some kind of weird wacky table or something like that, and then at the end everyone votes on their weird wacky tables or their weird wacky kitchens, and then at the end, whoever has the most points wins, and that's that. I think that could be a really fun one. It's a very simple one, and I don't really have anything else to say about it. We all know what a build battle is. So that is it for the video. That is all the little ideas that I had here, and I do hope that you enjoyed them. If you guys have any sort of minigame ideas in mind that you think would be really great for Ponytown to eventually implement when they do add, you know, mini games and everything like that, let me know in the comments below. And Ponytown, if you're watching, if you're listening, I would sure as heck love to see these things added to the game, of course. And I would love to help in any way that I possibly can, perhaps designing maps or help tweak maps and things like that for balancing or whatever else. I think it could be fun, and I would love to help in any way I can. So that's it for the video. I do hope that you enjoyed. If you did, please do like, subscribe, share, do all of those wonderful things like that, because when you do those wonderful things, you get access to wonderful content such as this. But that's not all you get. No, it's not all you get. You also get to become wonderful yourself, and I think we all want that. So do those wonderful things, and until next time, stay wonderful.